Hashtag the proposal that changed everything. Marcus Williams stood frozen in the sterile hallway of Hartwell Industries, his janitor's cart trembling slightly in his grip as the click of designer heels echoed closer. He'd scrubbed these marble floors for 3 years, always invisible, always unnoticed, until tonight. The building was supposed to be empty at 11 p.m., but there she was, Elena Hartwell, the Ice Queen CEO herself, striding toward him with mascara-streaked cheeks and desperation burning in her eyes. What she said next would shatter every assumption he'd ever made about the woman who signed his paychecks. "I need you to marry me," she breathed, her voice cracking on the last word, "tomorrow. And if you say no, I'll have no choice but to let you go." The words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. Marcus felt his world tilt sideways. He thought of his daughter Lily sleeping at home, her small body curled around the teddy bear he'd bought from a thrift store for her 6th birthday last month. He thought of the medical bills still piling up from when she'd had pneumonia last winter, of the apartment rent due in 5 days, of the mountain of debt that never seemed to shrink no matter how many extra shifts he pulled. And now this woman, this impossibly wealthy, unreachably powerful woman, was asking him to pretend to be her husband, threatening his job in the same breath. It made no sense. None of it made any sense. If you believe in second chances, in the power of kindness to transform lives, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. Your support means everything. Elena Hartwell had never begged for anything in her 32 years. She'd built her father's failing tech company into a billion-dollar empire through sheer will and strategic brilliance. She'd faced down hostile boardrooms, ruthless competitors, and Wall Street skeptics without flinching. But standing before this quiet man with tired eyes and calloused hands, she felt herself crumbling. Her grandfather's will had been clear: marry before her 33rd birthday, or lose everything to her cousin Richard, a man who would dismantle her life's work within months. She had 2 weeks. Every eligible bachelor in her social circle had proven themselves unsuitable, money-hungry, fame-seeking, or simply cruel. She'd been working late trying to find a solution when she'd looked up and seen Marcus mopping the floor outside her office. She'd watched him before, during those long nights when she was the last one in the building. She'd seen how carefully he worked, how he'd stop to rescue a spider rather than sweep it away, how he'd leave little sticky notes with smiley faces on the security guard's desk. There was something fundamentally decent about him, something real in a world that felt increasingly artificial. Marcus's mind raced through impossible calculations. His mother had always told him that when life corners you, you find out what you're really made of. She'd said that before the cancer took her, before he'd become a single father at 24 when Lily's mother had decided motherhood wasn't for her. He'd learned to survive on scraps, to turn pennies into meals, to make his daughter believe in magic even when the electricity got shut off. But this wasn't survival, this was insanity. Yet as he looked at Elena Hartwell, really looked at her for the first time, he saw something he recognized. Beneath the expensive suit and the corporate armor, she was terrified, just like him. "Why me?" he finally asked, his voice hoarse. The question seemed to release something in Elena. She sagged against the wall, suddenly looking far younger than her years. She explained about the will, about her grandfather's archaic beliefs about marriage and stability, about Richard who'd already started circling like a vulture, contacting her clients and spreading rumors about her mental state. She explained that she needed someone who wouldn't try to take advantage, someone who wouldn't see this as an opportunity to exploit her, someone who understood what it meant to fight for something bigger than yourself. "I've watched you," she admitted quietly. "The way you work, the way you treat people. Last month you gave your lunch to the homeless man outside the building. I saw you, every day for a week." Marcus felt heat rise to his face. He'd thought no one noticed him at all. He worked nights specifically to avoid the day staff, the executives who looked through him like he was furniture. He'd learned to be invisible because it was safer that way, easier. Now this woman was telling him she'd seen him, really seen him, and somehow that made what she was asking both more impossible and more tempting. The salary she was offering for 1 year of pretend marriage would change everything. It would clear his debts, pay for Lily's education, maybe even buy them a small house. But it would also be a lie, and Marcus had built his entire life around being honest with his daughter, teaching her that integrity mattered more than money. The negotiation happened right there in that hallway. Two desperate people trying to salvage their separate disasters. Elena promised it would be purely a business arrangement. Separate bedrooms, minimal public appearances, no interference in his real life. She'd pay him a monthly salary, cover all his expenses, and ensure his job was secure even after the year ended. All he had to do was sign the papers, wear the ring, and attend the occasional social function. 1 year of his life in exchange for financial security forever. Marcus thought about Lily's face when he told her they couldn't afford the field trip to the science museum, how she'd smiled and said it was okay, Daddy, that she didn't need to go anywhere special because everywhere was special with him. His heart broke and mended in the same moment. I have a daughter, he said. Finally. She's 6. If we do this, she can't know it's fake. I won't teach her that love is something you pretend for money. Elena's eyes widened, and for a moment Marcus thought she'd rescind the offer. Instead, she nodded slowly. Then we make it real for her, she said. I'll be whatever you need me to be when she's around. The sincerity in her voice surprised him. This wasn't a heartless business proposition. This was two drowning people reaching for the same life raft. The wedding happened 72 hours later at City Hall, witnessed by Elena's lawyer and Marcus's neighbor who watched Lily. Marcus wore a suit Elena had bought him that fit better than anything he'd ever owned. She wore a simple cream dress that made her look younger, softer, almost vulnerable. When they exchanged rings, titanium for him, platinum for her, Marcus felt the weight of the metal like a promise he didn't know if he could keep. They told Lily that Daddy had met someone special, someone who wanted to be part of their family. His daughter's joy was so pure, so unrestrained, that Marcus felt guilt settle into his bones. But then Elena knelt down to Lily's level and asked her what her favorite color was, what book she liked to read, whether she preferred pancakes or waffles. And something in Marcus's chest loosened slightly. The first weeks were awkward beyond measure. Elena's penthouse felt like a museum, all glass and marble and furniture too expensive to touch. Lily was afraid to run, afraid to play, afraid to be the loud, joyful child she'd always been. Marcus watched his daughter shrink herself and felt rage building. This was a mistake. He'd sold their simple happiness for a gilded cage. But then Elena came home early one day and found Lily crying because she'd accidentally knocked over a vase. Instead of anger, Elena sat on the floor beside her, pulled the little girl into her lap and told her about all the things she'd broken as a child. She ordered pizza, her first time ever. Marcus learned with shock, and they ate it on the living room floor while Lily taught her how to make proper silly faces. Watching them, Marcus felt something shift in his chest, something dangerous and warm. The transformation happened slowly, like ice melting. Elena started leaving work earlier to have dinner with them. She asked Lily about school and remembered the names of her friends. She learned to braid hair and packed lunches with little notes tucked inside. She attended parent-teacher conferences and cheered louder than anyone at Lily's soccer games. And Marcus watched this powerful woman, who commanded boardrooms and negotiated million-dollar deals, learn to read bedtime stories with silly voices, to kiss scraped knees better, to be present in ways his own mother would have loved. Meanwhile, Marcus found himself in Elena's world, attending charity galas where his janitor's hands felt out of place in borrowed tuxedos. But Elena would find him in crowded rooms, would take his hand and introduce him not as her convenient husband, but as her partner. With genuine pride in her voice, the night everything changed started like any other. Lily was asleep. And Marcus found Elena on the balcony, staring at the city lights with tears streaming down her face. Her company's quarterly reports had been spectacular, her grandfather's requirements satisfied, but Richard had contested the will anyway, claiming the marriage was a fraud. The legal battle would be brutal in public. I'm sorry, Elena whispered. I've dragged you into this nightmare for nothing. But Marcus stepped closer, took her face in his hands. Those janitor's hands that had scrubbed floors and changed diapers, and built towers of blocks, and made her look at him. It's not nothing, he said fiercely. Lily loves you, He stopped, the truth too large and terrifying to speak. But Elena heard it anyway. "I love you too," she breathed. And when they kissed, it wasn't for show or for contracts. It was real in a way that made everything before feel like the pretense. The truth came out during the deposition. Marcus testified under oath about their arrangement, about how it started his business. Richard's lawyer smiled like he'd won. But then Marcus kept talking. He talked about how Elena had learned Lily's favorite songs and sung them off-key every morning, about how she'd held him when he'd cried about his mother on the anniversary of her death, about how she'd quietly paid off his mother's medical debts without telling him, not as part of their deal, but because she couldn't bear for him to carry that weight. He talked about falling in love with his wife, his real wife, because that's what she'd become, and watching her fall in love with being part of a family. The judge listened to this man with calloused hands speak about love with more eloquence than any lawyer, and ruled in Elena's favor. This story touched your heart. If you believe that real love can grow in the most unexpected places, please leave a comment below telling us what this story meant to you. And don't forget to like this video and share it with someone who needs to believe in happy endings. They renewed their vows a year later, this time in a small garden ceremony with Lily as the flower girl, throwing petals with abandon while her parents promised each other forever. For real this time. No contracts, no expiration dates. Marcus still worked, though now he'd started his own business helping others find employment. Elena still ran her company, but she left at 5 p.m. sharp because family dinners were sacred, and Lily grew up knowing that love doesn't always look like fairy tales, that sometimes the best families are built from broken pieces carefully glued back together. Sometimes the most powerful proposals happen in office hallways at 11 p.m. between a CEO and a janitor who both needed saving. And sometimes, just sometimes, pretending to be someone's wife leads to becoming their everything, truly, deeply, and forever real.